distinguished guests, academia faculty members, subject matter expert panelists, and young people from all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, salam alaikum, and good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, wherever you are logging in from at this moment. Allow me to welcome you all from the Expo 2020 site office, Dubai, the UAE, and to our first webinar under Expo Education Program Series titled Building the Ideal Skill Set for the 21st Century. Moderating with me for this event is the one and only Wissam Akkad, the Global Director of Next Gen Initiatives with our premier partner, SAP. And if you haven't seen Wissam in events before, he is a suave moderator and takes the agenda of the UN Sustainability Development Goals seriously, especially quality education and gender equality. Hello, Wissam. I haven't seen you in a while. How have you been?
Hi, Fatima. All is well. I think the last time that I saw you was in end of August in Dubai Mall. And I couldn't recognize you. And yeah, maybe you should put this fancy mask.
I have it for you today.
Exactly that. So that's exactly how I saw Fatima. And I wasn't sure if it was her. So I had to send her a message on WhatsApp and ask her, like, is that you? I'm just behind you. So yeah, strange times, I would say, right? Fatima and I worked closely on a number of initiatives. And so yeah, it was a big change, right, to work remotely and to live remotely. But we're happy that we kept the momentum on. We're so excited about Expo 2020. And that's, of course, not the first event that we've got with youth. In fact, the first event we've got with Expo 2020 was 3 years ago, where we had a hackathon at the SAP office in Dubai. And it was an amazing co-creation between students, and they actually developed apps for the Expo 20. So again, I welcome everyone. And it was amazing that within the first hour, we had 700 registrations when we announced this talk. So I guess a lot of people are curious to hear about the future of work, future of education. Some people are stressed, anxious. And but we have an amazing panelist today that we're going to discuss all these topics. And there's going to be a lot of room for questions as well. So for those who do not know Fatima, she's the head of the Expo Academy. She's working on her first mega project delivering national youth programs. And she's been also a great activist when it comes to gender balance, accessibility, and youth development. It's been a pleasure working with you, Fatima, and I can't wait for the actual Expo in less than probably 290 days or so, if I'm counting well, so that we can really do actual on-site activities. Perfect. So, Fatima, can you tell me more about Expo? I mean, I'm sure a lot of students or youth, plugged in, but they might not know exactly what is Expo all about. So what is Expo and what's the education program within Expo?
Allow me to add into the 3,000 registrations. They are coming from different places around the world, even countries I haven't heard of before. And I'm not going to embarrass myself by pronouncing it here on this webinar. Having said that, Wissam, many things has changed since the last time we spoke and last time we worked together. And allow me to reiterate that youth is still at the heart of the Expo 2020. And many of our initiatives reflects the young dynamic spirit of the UAE. For instance, from the Expo Academy, where I'm working closely to develop opportunities for a lot of nationals to be part of this mega project. And one of the theme that we rounded our programs about, it was We Believe in You. And this is basically to showcase that the Expo put the youth at the front face of the agenda of the Expo itself. And in terms of global engagement, we have two beautiful programs that engaging schools, the Expo Schools program, which expect more than 1 million school students to visit during the Expo 2020, and the Expo Education program, which is this webinar is part of it. And it is dedicated to discover learning grounds during the Expo 6 months, providing them with educational tours that focus very much about making a difference collaboratively with the best matter experts, education institutes, towards finding solutions for a better future. Let's also reiterate that the World Expos are large-scale platforms for education and progress, providing opportunities for students to engage with global scale and explore innovations. At the Expo 2020, to conclude with, we are looking forward to welcoming visitors and accommodating more 200 participants from countries, multilateral organizations, educational establishments, and companies to be able to promote collaborative efforts towards creating tangible opportunities in education, trade, and investment. As you can see, Expo 2020 is determined to create future legacy with youth.
I can't hear Fatima.
Wonderful. I believe that we have a poll to start with. Wissam, would you like to announce it?
Absolutely, because it's also important to know how are people feeling today. So let's see the poll, the first poll. So we'll give it a few seconds for everyone to select the
How are
state
you young people
of
today?
food. All right, so I guess we can see the results. Wow, so 74% are happy. That's amazing. 1% only are sad. Beautiful. We've got some people who are anxious, some people are indifferent, but I'm very glad that the majority are happy, and thank you for that. And I think it's okay not to be okay, right? And when you ask this question, how are you feeling? I think just give it more and like look at the person and probe a little bit, because through these different times, we do have mixed feelings, and it's okay to have them, and it's okay to share them. Thank you.
I agree. It has been a tough time with some.
Absolutely. So Fatima, we're very glad at SAP NextGen to have been working with you closely on a number of programs. And again, for those who don't know, the SAP NextGen, it's really a global community for the next generation who are really passionate about innovation and technology. And they really want to shape the future. And there couldn't be a better place than this forum, future of work and future of education. So we really want to excite students on SAP technology in particular, and we'd like them to work for us or for our ecosystem. As you know, like we are really the global innovation leader in end-to-end enterprise solutions. So we've got relationships with over 3,000 universities worldwide, where we inspire faculty members to then inspire their students on technology and SAP technology in particular. And we also work with various partners to support, I would say, the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and particularly the SDG 4 and SDG 5, quality education and gender equality. So I guess it's time to introduce our panelists. We're lucky to have beautiful, diverse panelists today with us. So I'm going to start with the founder and chair of the Arab International Women Forum, Dr. Haifa Al-Kailani. If you could please introduce yourself. You're on mute.
Yeah, thank you very much, Wissam. Fatima, it's such a pleasure to be with you, and a very impressive indeed occasion and very impressive gathering of speakers. I am Haifa Al-Kailani. I'm founder and chairman of the Arab International Women's Forum. I'm a development economist. I'm also a Harvard fellow and a commissioner of the ILO Global Commission on the Future of Work.
Thank you, Dr. Haifa. From Geneva, we have Wadia Eid Hamza, is the head of Global Shapers Community World Economic Forum. Could you please tell us more about you, Wadia?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Fatima, and thank you, Wissam. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Wadia. I'm from Morocco originally and now based in Geneva, Switzerland. As Fatima said, I have the honor and the pleasure of heading the Global Shapers Community, which is a network of young people around the world that are improving the state of the world, and the World Economic Forum gives them the platform to engage, to have a voice, but also to shape the future that we want to all live in.
Thank you, Wadia. So let's go to Beirut, to the American University of Beirut, with Dr. Fida Afyouni.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be here with you. My name is Fida Afyouni. I'm an associate professor of human resource management at the Alayan School of Business at the American University of Beirut. I'm also the chair of the Management, Marketing, and Entrepreneurship Department. And I'm a founding partner of the Center for Inclusive Business and Leadership that was founded in 2019. And within this center, we work on women's economic empowerment, and we're currently developing a gender equality index.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fida. And from Germany, we have Dr. Katharina Schiffer, SAP University Alliance's Global Head. Could you please tell us a little bit more about you, Dr. Katrina?
Thank you, Fatima, and thanks, Wissam. And it's a pleasure to be here. Welcome also from my side, and greetings from Heidelberg, where I live and currently work. As Wissam already introduced, I'm the head of University Alliances and SAP Next Gen, this community for young people. And perhaps some background about me. I'm a mother of 2 children and an aerospace engineer. I studied at RWTH Aachen University. That's a technical university in Germany. And there I did my studies in mechanical engineering and economic sciences, and received my PhD in aeronautics. And to be honest, I never thought to work for SAP before I learned by coincidence that SAP is not just a traditional ERP provider, a solution provider, but plays a crucial role in the digitalization of every industry. So I started my career there 3.5 years ago in the Aerospace and Defense Industry Business Unit. And I'm now happy to be at the University Alliances and SAP Next Gen to serve as the bridge between the academic world and SAP in our ecosystem.
Thank you, Dr. Katarina. And last but not least, Kailash Nagdev from Expo 2020.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to be with you all this evening. My name is Kailash. I am the Vice President of Sales and Analytics at Expo, and I've had the honor of being with Expo for the past 10 years when Expo was a concept on a piece of paper. And how this project is shaped up in front of our eyes from literally a piece of desert into a futuristic city is an inspiration for all of us, and we live it every day along with Fatima and other colleagues of mine. And youth has always been the ethos of our project. Your aspirations, your ideas, and your energy has shaped what this project has become today. And we are so looking forward to opening our doors in October 2021. And I would love to share some of the stories from Expo on this forum today.
Thank you, Kailash. So let's perhaps start with the World Economic Forum. And we are lucky to have Wadia with us today, who is leading the Global Shaper movement. And it's a great movement of people in their 20s. It's like a platform to exchange ideas, work together on certain projects. So I'd like to ask Wadia, what are the challenges that youth are facing really to be ready to acquire the right skills for the future of work? And the next part of the question would be, because I know that the World Economic Forum works with governments, works with different NGOs, private sector. So how can we bring everyone together, and how is World Economic Forum, the Global Shaper programs, bringing everyone together to address these challenges? And if there's any programs that are working, if you can just share also best practices.
Super. Thank you, Wissam. It is important to note at the beginning that, when we talk about challenges facing youth, either in the Arab world or in the MENA region or Africa or all over the world, they are all the same. The difference is in scale and scope. And usually when we see it from one region, we think we are special case or the others are better than us, but it's not the case when we think of those challenges. And before I answer your question, let me first give our audience some of aspects of the backdrop where we live in today that affects ultimately the skills that are needed. And the first aspect I would like to mention, which is something that the World Economic Forum and especially Professor Schwab coined back in 2016, and is the concept of the fourth industrial revolution. Building on the third the digital third revolution, which is the digital revolution, which has been occurring since the last century. The fourth is characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, the digital, and the biological spheres. And this has repercussions on how we interact, study, and work, and is changing rapidly, if not exponentially, the way we look at skills in our case. The second aspect, which is as important as the first one, is VUCA. And some of you might have heard of this term that the US military coined in the mid-90s, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous word. That's the word we are living in. And we see it today with COVID-19. No one can even predict what's going to happen next week. So when we talk about skills, when we talk about the job market, when we talk about education, no one can predict what can happen for 100%. At my time when I was studying, we were talking about all the 5-year plan. Countries have 5-year plans, companies have 5-year plans. Now it's impossible. And that's a backdrop that we need to take into consideration. And the third, of course, the pandemic and how it's pushing all of us to change rapidly in terms of use of technologies, but also in terms of how we interact and social behaviors. I would like here to share a slide on a report that the World Economic Forum did on how the business is adapting, for example, to COVID-19, which will give you an idea of the rapid changes that are happening across the globe. 50% of the employers surveyed in this report said that they will accelerate the automation of their work, and 80% of them said that they will expand the digitization of their work processes. The next 5 years, we're going to be seeing 85 million jobs displaced by new technologies, and thanks to COVID-19. But at the same time, we're going to be creating 97 million new jobs. So when we talk about skills, either you are in the 85 million, which will be lost, or you are in the 97 million, which will be created. So the pressure that is resulting also, and that's the good news for our students today, this pressure is also resulting in pushing the actual workers to be upskilled. And 40% of actual workers will need to be upskilled in order to be relevant for the job market. And here we can see, for example, the shifts that are happening between now and 2025, the jobs that are in demand, growing in demand, and the jobs that are decreasing. And you can see that some of them are known to us. We either are applying to those jobs and they're going to be lost, or some are even not know and what they mean exactly. I would like to remind all of you, I'm sure you have a friend or someone that is an app developer. 9-10 years ago, this job didn't exist. Now, the kids that are going to school, primary school this year, 60% of them will do jobs that don't exist yet. So how are we preparing them? And that's where we talk about the skills and sometimes even things that we don't know. And that's where the importance of working together between the private sector, the business, the public sector, and also civil society in order to came and talk about where we need those efforts to come to. Here, it's a diagram that shows you how the jobs will be shifting from one area to another, and you can see that yes, some aspects of jobs will be the same, but many will be changing. And all those graphs, you can find them in the Future of Jobs 2020 report by the World Economic Forum.
Thank you, Wadia. No, if you have one point, please go ahead.
No, go. I mean, I was just gonna say, to conclude, we have a chance to be either in the 85 million jobs that will be lost, or in the 97 million. And here, upskilling is important. We have an opportunity with the fourth industrial revolution, and that we have to seize it in order to be able to be on the future.
Absolutely, Wadia. Thank you so much for your insights. So let's move and shift gears to Dr. Haifa. So again, we heard about the VUCA world. We have the pandemic. We've got jobs disappearing. We've got some gaps going on. And then we've got people who are more prone to inequality, right? So, and we saw that when all of a sudden classes are online, work is online. So those who didn't have internet to start with were at disadvantage, or hardware or software. So how can we make sure that, you know, to address these challenges, right? Because we were all excited that, you know, the Agenda 2030, and there's like some progress here, and then all of a sudden we're all the way back. So what can we do to close this gap? And how can we ensure that we can take some human-centered or human-centered inclusive solutions so that we can have like a green recovery and, you know, we have equality?
Thank you, Wissam. Inclusion challenges are actually in education as well as in employment have long existed. And of course, we all are aware they have been compounded by the pandemic. What is the best way to address them? We address them by putting people first, by humanizing education, humanizing the workplace. How do we do that? We need to create equality of opportunity for all. And we also need to adopt what the ILO has introduced as a human-centered agenda, which has become the heart of the ILO Global Commission on the Future of Work report. This is a very important agenda, and it has 3 key pillars that will address the inequality issue. First pillar, we need to invest in people's capabilities, from transitioning from school all the way to work. Women, youth, everybody. This requires education. It requires upskilling, capacity building, and lifelong learning. And under this agenda of investing in human capabilities, we need to create a transformative agenda for gender equality, where there is the largest gaps in terms of equality and the largest challenges. The second pillar, importantly in the human-centered agenda, is investing in the institutions of education and the institutions of work. This comes through social dialogue, enhanced investments in technology, and importantly, of course, by regulation. The third pillar is investing in education and decent work for all. And again, here we bring in the informal economy, the care economy, because this is where, again, when we talk about women, women work the hardest and often their work is not well compensated or acknowledged. In order to achieve all these objectives and to meet these policies and measures, indeed, we do need a multi-stakeholder approach, multi-stakeholder collaboration. We need a very solid public-private partnership, but not only exclusive to public and private sector. We need to bring the academic sector. We need to bring industry and education close together. We need to bring civil society together. We need to bring the youth in themselves and women when these policies are drawn. If we do not address decisively these challenges, we will end up with further inequalities, unfortunately, in the future. You are bringing in also the question of the environment. And again, COVID-19 has exposed the fragility of our planet and actually our relation with our planet. We can only survive and protect and save lives and livelihoods if we save nature. To quote Razan Al-Mubarak in addressing our webinar last week, she's the managing director of the Mohammed bin Zayed Species Conservation Fund. She said, when nature is doing well, we will do well. So with the COVID crisis, the urgency of transitioning to a green economy has amplified. How we do that? We again do it by adopting policies to decarbonize, to move to renewable sources of energy, to protect our scarce water resources, provide for food security, and importantly, provide for sustainable and smart agriculture. This is extremely important. And the World Bank actually has given us a guideline, a four-pillar approach or a four-steps approach in this regard. How to move to a better green economy and create the green jobs that we want. First, it is building resilience for future shocks, for new shocks, which could be coming. Second is inclusion and ensuring no one is left behind. And the third is sustainability for future generations. And the fourth is efficiency, ensuring that the scarcest resources, natural resources that we have are shared by all. This is extremely important. So investing in sustainability and in sustainable agriculture and in a green economy also alleviates, importantly, poverty. Let me remind you that 80% of the poor people in the world live in rural areas and they work mainly in agriculture. If we can invest further in sustainable agriculture, create jobs, and give these people, especially women and youth and all who are working in the rural economy, give them opportunities, then not only we will help to alleviate poverty, but we will importantly create social cohesion between rural and urban communities. And this is important for growth and for stability. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I'm glad, of course, like the role of academia in all of this, right? So we're going to shift gears here also and to Fatima, and let's see what academia has to say on how they're tackling this VUCA world.
Mm-hmm.
Fatima, you're on mute.
I'm not on mute. Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay.
Now we're talking. Thank you, Wissam. I think we managed to pull a really beautiful panelists that complement each other. So before we move to our next question or probably panel discussion, we have realized that the first two panelists gave us some really, really interesting global insights. And we now want to shift our focus to educational institutions and industry outlook at the issue from a more focused lens, starting with the university. But before we pose the question to Dr. Fida, I was wondering if we could really run a question and see how our youth and audience are doing. Could we please pull the next questions for them? What is your main concern about COVID-19? I think the entire pandemic put us all at a pause, and there are a lot of mixed feelings about how did we go through it and feel about it. And we're looking forward to hear from all of you about how did you manage it and how are you impacted by it. Great.
I guess you're ready for the results.
Wissam, would you give me the pleasure to share the results?
Yes, absolutely. Fatima, can you see the results?
I would like you to help me with the results, if that's okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I'm not getting my classes today, so.
No worries. All right. So we've got 43%, that's the majority, where they think it will impact their future career, right? And then we've got 27% thinking that it's affecting physical and mental health. And then, the remaining completing my studies on time. So basically, everyone is concerned about the future of their career. And I guess this is also tied into their education. Are they studying or are they acquiring the right skills for tomorrow? Because that's what would really make it or break it, right? So that's where we want to hear from academia. What are they doing to prepare youth for the digital world?
So Dr. Fida, joined by university professors from all over the world, you guys had to shift overnight from traditional method of face-to-face teaching to completely online learning in unprecedented conditions, a time when the world was going through a pandemic of epic proportions. A considerable shift in how professors teach and how students receive. This is no easy fate, especially with having managed student engagement, motivation, and especially mental health. So can you tell us what were the most significant struggles students faced during this time, and how did universities manage to help them overcome them? How did the university continue engaging students and delivering learning while monitoring their mental health? And if you could please, how did you ensure the students continue their learning journey towards their career aspiration and innovation? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So many questions. I'll try to answer, in a succinct way. Just starting with the struggle of the students, it was really very hard on them. And, as mentioned in the poll, there was a variety of challenges. Some are technical, such as connectivity issues in Lebanon. In addition to, COVID, we have electricity cuts. The internet is not always up to speed. Students often lack the digital literacy to shift overnight to multiple platforms. They get overwhelmed with an overflow of information because now they need to check, different platforms and different messaging in order to understand what's going on. There was also some psychological aspects, when you are young in your, early 20s, you lack social interactions, so suddenly being isolated is challenging. In addition to the anxiety of being sick, or perhaps having a friend or a family member being sick. So this was really challenging, and adjusting to a totally different learning environment. How did we help them cope? First, we had to help ourselves because students are interacting with the faculty members that were themselves subject to this level of stress and anxiety. The faculty members were not all of them are digitally savvy and are at ease in manipulating technology. So we had to work on ourselves. We read a lot about psychology, tried to offer support one-on-one to students. We worked on upskilling ourselves and learning different digital platforms. I just want to stress that, as an institution and beyond individual initiatives, we realize that education is important. And to build on Dr. Haifa's point, it is the primary driver towards the progress of the SDG goals. And we don't want the education system to collapse. As Wadia mentioned, in the VUCA environment, it was one of the sectors that was the most severely disrupted. So we need to rethink education. So what we did is for mental health, we provided a lot of support for students. For example, we had virtual group sessions, we had workshops, we had free counseling for faculty and for students. We also wanted to connect the disconnected. That was important for inclusivity. So we offered the premises on campus for those who do not have connection to come in isolated classrooms to be connected. As individually, what we do, we realize that it's hard on students to learn online. The span of attention is narrow. So we try to adapt our teaching style to that by having very short videos, different learning material in order not to lose them. We try to, as Dr. Haifa mentioned, make it more humane. For example, the first 5 minutes, we open the cameras, we chat, we show our pets at home. We have pet competition, or if someone has talent, they can sing or show us something they have drawn. So we try to make these interactions more humane to establish connection so that, we can then get into the learning. And it's very important, it's very important for us to change the way we deliver information, because if you go and deliver the same material in the same way as you used to do that in class, you will lose the students because the span of attention is very limited. So we use different techniques such as breakout rooms. We give them work that they can work on together. We have videos and discussions. As much as the connection allows, we try to keep the cameras on because this increases engagement of the students. For those who are shy, we try to give them the floor, call on people by name just to make sure that everybody has the chance to talk. And many faculty members, including myself, we give our personal contacts to students. We are on WhatsApp groups, or we use, let's say, WebEx Teams or Microsoft Teams. So we have this platform where anyone can just send you a message if you don't want to share your private mobile number. So this is in some of the initiatives that we try to apply.
Very much, Dr. Fida. I smile while you're talking because I have 2 kids during the pandemic and they were doing homeschooling. So I resonate a lot with the answer that you just gave about youth, about how education system and also our young students struggled to continue education. Before we move to hear a little bit from an industry lens and perspective from the workplace, which is equally important, I wonder if we could really check on our audience and youngsters and ask them how confident are you feeling in terms of the skills required for the modern place. Can you please engage with us and tell us how do you feel about it through this poll?
All right, so we're waiting for the poll.
And Wissam, if you could do me the favor again, that would be really nice.
Absolutely. So the question is, how confident are you that you have the skills required by the modern workplace? And we're going to give it a few seconds before seeing the results. All right, let's see the results. We have a problem here, Fatima. We've got 52%, more than half, fairly confident. And we need to boost their confidence here. We've got very confident, 29%, not confident, 16%, and then highly not confident, the remaining. So we've got some, I'm going to say that we need to all work together to make sure that youth are confident that they have the right skills. So let's hear from the private sector and what kind of initiative they're doing, Fatima.
So I'm very happy and quite surprised about the result, honestly, but it gives me an optimist outlook about how young people are doing out there. Having said that, we'll be very happy to hear from Dr. Katrina Schaffer from SAP University Alliances in terms of the industry outlook or lens. So today, students and recent graduates, Doctor, are concerned about the impact of emerging technologies and the automation of jobs from an industry perspective and as part of a company that is at the heart of technology and innovations. Can you speak to us about the impact of technology on jobs and the AI and automation that may replace jobs, and how companies recruit, train, and prepare employees these days? How do you see the global education system keeping up with the rapid speed of change in the workplace, and how do partnership with global companies like SAP play a vital role in closing that gap?
Okay, thanks, Fatima. A lot of questions. And first of all, I also would like to say that it gives me a good feeling that so many students are confident about the future workplace, and I think they can be, that's for sure. I mean, we heard a lot about AI replacing jobs, but in fact, as Wadia already shared, AI and automation will even power the creation of 97 million new jobs by 2025, like data analysts, big data specialists, digital marketing, digital transformation specialists, very important, we see already nowadays, or security analysts. So there's more a shift in job skills, and well, I will say it like that. I think jobs will mainly repetitive tasks will be taken over by robots or robotic process automation, RPA. But I mean, aren't these nevertheless the boring tasks that we don't want to do? So I think AI leaves us as human beings the jobs where we can bring in our creativity and our strategic thinking that is required for that, and gives us the time to do exactly this instead of doing, the boring repetitive tasks. And this will be a change that we will see in every industry, not only in the IT industry. So that all the jobs in every industry are becoming somehow tech related, and all people will need some digital skills. More are some user driven, others more development driven, but everybody should be interested and motivated about digital skills. In terms of recruitment, that was also asked, we as SAP focus very much on early talents and diversity. We have a lot of programs for early talents, and our focus is really on the development of this new talent that's coming into SAP. For example, I would like to mention our SAP Sales Academy, where we really develop world-class salespeople in 9 months. And one bigger part of it is that the entire global team comes together at San Ramon at the west coast of the United States to get to know each other and build a network that will help them then in the future to work more efficiently. And I will come back to that importance of network later. So also, and not only for the new employees coming in, also for the SMP employees, we have a lot of development programs in place, be it to prepare them for future leadership, digital leadership as well, or develop special skills for an expert job. We already heard it, lifelong learning. And I really have to say, that's not only a buzzword, that is really how the future looks like. I think it's not that you go out of university or school and then you have done the learning. It's really, you have to learn your entire life. You have to learn also during your company life. And the great thing is that, for example, many companies and also SAP really foster that. So, and also in terms of recruitment, so what I really like that everybody is so confident, and as I said, you can be, because I think it's not so much the exact hard skills that we are looking for when we look for a certain job profile. It's more important than that you bring the right soft skills and also the attitude, a kind of growth mindset with you. So really, if you're interested in an interdisciplinary job and lifelong learning, also look into our programs. We have a lot in there, also for internships, because I think as a student, it's also important to really start your career journey during your studies. At the end, it's a person that hires you. Of course, we have programs in place with AI who are looking through the CVs, but at the end, it's a person. And if you have already made your network in a certain company during your studies, that is really a lot of help. Then you asked as well about the education system. So it was already said that I think, to keep up with this exponential change in the workplace, it needs kind of multi-stakeholder initiative. And I think it's not the educational system that has to keep up with the companies, because also the companies have to kind of develop their employees constantly further, because the workplace in the companies change constantly. So for example, at SAP, it's quite usual that someone changes jobs all 2 to 3 years. And and this is great. We foster it. I mean, of course, an organization loses an expert, but on the other hand, this expertise is then implemented into another organization and the employee expand their horizon. And I think it's crucial that the companies collaborate with the academic world very closely to exchange about the future need of industry, but that also the companies learn from the academic world what are the trends in workplaces and how to prepare best. And that is why we always bring in also external experts, for example, from other industry partners, as well as academia in our development programs to share their knowledge with us. Okay, and then come to the last part of your question. I think it was about entrepreneurship. Well, I have to say I'm not the expert in that, but I think if you have a great ideas and are interested in self-employment, just do it. But I want to share with you that also being part of a bigger company gives you the opportunity to do other projects, and also try to realize an idea that you have. We have that SAP 1 Billion Live initiative, where really everybody can bring in ideas how to make the world better, and then is allowed to have a project, for example, 3 months at a certain place to realize that. So yeah, I'm really excited about the future. I'm excited about the new talents, and let's see how the workplace evolves, right? Nobody knows exactly, but we can prepare best, I think.
Thank you very much, Dr. Katrina. I'm very happy to hear this amazing initiative by SAP, which I also can't stress more that a lot of international and national organizations are working on the same, bridging the gap between education system, providing programs that will be enabled to integrate and build the confidence of a lot of young and youth graduates or young graduates. Having said that, I would like Wasim to come in with our final dedicated questions. Wissam?
Sure. So
I call you Wasim because you're very good looking, Wissam.
Thank you. So Katerina mentioned trends, right? So the trends, there are always trends, and education, or academia, and the private sector would need to know about them. So what about the global trends that we're going to be shaping up, and what's a better place than the Expo 2020, where all the trends of the world will be showcased, right? And I guess the show is for youth mostly, honestly, and I'm so excited that we're part of that as SAP Next Gen as well. And that's a question now for Kailash, right? So we've got lots and lots of people in the millions who would join us at Expo 2020 during 6 months, right? How can you motivate youth to come to Expo and really interact and benefit from their experience and Expo and learn, right? We spoke about also on learning for life. Like, so what kind of, I would say skills or revelations that they're going to have when they're at Expo? And what kind of opportunity benefits? I know that there's also a volunteering program by Expo. And we've got a lot of students worldwide that would like to also engage with Expo maybe as volunteers. So let's see how Expo would shape the future careers of lots and lots of students coming to Expo.
Thank you, Wissam. It's been a fascinating conversation, and actually I've been learning so much because I'm looking at this webinar chat feed that is going on, and all the students are commenting on it, which has been a fantastic source of seeing how people reacting to what we are saying on the panel. But let me take a step back, because one of the comments I read as asking, I have no idea what an expo is. So let's talk about what an expo is in the first instance, right? So expos historically, the event goes back more than 200 years on. Expos historically have been a place where people have come together to show the best of innovation at that time. It's not only to showcase innovation, but also to learn from it, and how does this innovation can then get applied to human life or day-to-day life at the same time. So I'll give you an anecdotal example. So Bill Gates, when he was growing up in 1962, he happened to go to the Seattle Expo. It was his hometown. The expo was happening right on his doorsteps, and he happened to go to an expo. And what is the first thing Bill Gates said of recounting his experience quite recently when he was talking to us? He said, it was a fantastic event. It was the first event that he actually saw how a technology can be applied on a mass scale for the benefit of the whole humanity. And that was the early seeds of his inspiration when he decided to start Microsoft. So when we're talking about World Expos, it is really that inspirational platform that impacts youth, especially when you're kind of thinking about the future. This is the place where you see the futuristic technology. I'll probably showcase my age when I say this. When I was growing up, there's no mobile phones, right? I got my first mobile phone when I was already in my graduation and just about to graduate. Actually, I got my first mobile phone. Imagine going in 1970s, when even the television or the satellite television was a distant dream of the future. You could go to a World Expo and you could see a mobile phone operating for the first ever time. You can actually make a call using a mobile phone in 1970s. That is the power of expos. It really brings 30, 40 years of technology, forward looking technology into a single place where you are not only a passive observer, but you can actually participate in it. Expos are also a fantastic platform because they're very apolitical event where you get to see 190 plus countries, which is what we have at Dubai Expo, come together. Now, just take a moment to imagine when I say 190 countries, try recounting the countries that you can remember off on top of your head. Even if you take 10 minutes, I can bet you wouldn't go beyond 60 countries that you can recount. So imagine now coming to a place where you got 190 countries coming together, all in the spirit of collaboration, all in the spirit of participation, and talking about optimism, talking about how the future would look like. It's not about here and now, it's about what the future would look like 20 years, 30 years from now. That is what this expose is, and that's the inspirational and a culturally rich environment that a youth can expect. Coming to your question specifically on Dubai Expo, as I was kind of mentioning, when we were first planning for Expo in 2009 2010, we really had to kind of really think from a perspective of a kid. Imagine if today somebody is graduating and he or she is 21 years old. When we were first envisaging the project, this person was 10-year-old kid in just entering his primary school. Now this person is entering the workforce. So what is that is relevant to this person in 2021? We had to start imagining in 2009, and therefore we really had to take the perspective of this young child. What is this person imagining, and what the world would look like for him or her in the future, and start imagining. So we've developed program with the youth ethos in place, their energy in place. So whether you want to do a volunteer program, we got more than 30,000 volunteers that we would need across 6 months. So as long as 14 day to 6 months you want to spend, I can assure you it would be the one of the best jobs that you will ever do in your life if you come to an expo. Whether it's the student champions program, we already have about 50 plus universities who have signed up their students to become student champions at expo. We've got internship programs. Fatima, my colleague, runs an Expo Generation Academy where we are involving a lot of our Emirati colleagues to come and join and learn from this experience. To the very fact that now we have an education program where we are inviting universities to come on tours. Now, I'll just give you one example before I stop. If you are a student who is learning operations today, operations management, logistics, for the 6 months of the expo, we're going to have an underground tunnel that is going to be the busiest logistics corridor in the world, operating right here in Dubai. So if you're a logistics student, please come to us. We'll take you down to not the fancy bit on the top. We'll take you under the ground. We'll show you that logistics corridor. That's the busiest highway or logistics corridor in the world. That is our promise to students. So come and join our student road program, and you will experience something that you would have never seen, something that looks into 20 or 30 years into the future. That's what Expo is about, Wissam.
Thank you, Kailash. And talking about these inventions, right, in 30, 20 years, and I'm a very big fan of science fiction thinking, which at SAP NextGen we like to foster that when we're dealing with students. So yeah, I'm equally excited to see what are the new trends and inventions at Expo 2020. And again, I'll emphasize the fact that beyond technology as well, the cultural aspect of Expo, where all the countries will have their own pavilions, so the food, the culture. So it's an amazing experience, and definitely we invite you all to be there.
Don't you, Wasim, wish that we attended the World Expo 20 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago? Our life would probably be a little bit different today, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. But we're equally excited, and yeah, Fatima, I mean, we're already co-organizing a lot of events, so we're looking forward to having youth in our events. Great. So now I have a question for all the panelists, right? And it's a personal story that I'd like you to share with our youth, our students. And we all know that, all right, we're all successful right now, and I'm very happy to have a very exciting panel today. But I'm sure that every one of us passed through a difficult moment, a challenging moment that really transformed us, right? So if you can share with me one of those stories that really was like pivotal, change on how you perceive things, made you stronger, It really got the grit out of you, the perseverance. So I'd like to hear that story, and you've got also 3 minutes for that. So I know because stories can go long and long, but let's focus on 3 minutes. So let's start with Wadia.
Thank you, Wissam. Oh, that's a tough question because, you know, the challenges, we have them every day. And I love the proverb that says, if you are building something extraordinary, expect extraordinary challenges. So if you're not facing hardship every day, know that you're not doing what you can do. That's not your potential. So I've got a lot, but I think the one that every time comes to my mind is missing my dream job. It's still now my dream job that I'm not doing, but I'm thanking God that I didn't do it, because all the friends who are in this job are regretting it. And you know, there is where you can do good, where you have your passion, your energy, and there is also the kid's dream that you want to do because you've seen something fancy about it, or you've seen it in a movie and you think that's the reality, but probably that's not the reality. And I think that's when, you know, when we talk about the future of jobs and skills, see which skills do you have, where can you be better, and where your weakness, delegate that. How can you focus on what you are doing best and focus on that, and that's how you will thrive. And I think that's how you will thrive and pass those hardships and challenges, and actually you will be looking for them, because that will be your adrenaline to go further. But for me, my hardest time is missing that dream job, but frankly, no regrets. And if I'll have to do it again, I'll do it again.
Perfect, Wadi. Yeah, it's very, I mean, you know, also during COVID, probably it might be a little bit slower time that you can be on your own. So really talk to yourself, understand your passion, talk to people, right? Reach out to your network and seek advice. That's a great, thank you, the great story, Wadi. Let's move to Dr. Fida, AUB.
Thank you, Wissam. I'm gonna start, I mean, actually, yeah, I've got a series of challenges. I'm gonna start my timeline of the story from the time I was, you know, at the age of the audience. So I had graduated from high school, and I wanted to do sociology because I like to learn about, you know, humans, evolution in society. But, you know, that was in the 1990s. And at that time, my parents were very opposed because I was, you know, I've always been a good student. They expected me to do, you know, the traditional medicine, engineering, or law, and I didn't want to do that. So I knew what I didn't want, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I accidentally, you know, ended up in business because, you know, my friend had started and I had no idea what to do. I did a year of business and I hated it. It was the most horrible year of my life. So the following year, I signed up for sociology and I was doing a dual major in business and sociology. And towards my, you know, my MBA, there was a fresh Harvard graduate teacher who taught us human resource management. And I said, wow, that's really a good bridge between sociology and business. So I decided that I'm going to do that. Then I started working in an office. I hated, you know, the 8 to 5 lifestyle. I thought this was not for me. I went and did my PhD, and all my education was in French. So I was in a French school and then got educated in Paris, and then went and applied to AUB. People were skeptical because there was nothing that proves I could speak a word of English on my CV. It was all French. But I got hired because HR was in demand. I was among the first cohort to actually hold a degree in HR, and they were in need of that. So the challenge for me is, you know, at AUB, you need to publish. I had no idea how to do that. I wrote a couple of articles and they got rejected. And that was the first failure of my life. Having always been an A student, having a rejection after rejection, you know, was very tough. I would put the letter of rejection in the drawer, not having the courage to read it after weeks have passed. And then, you know, you look how they're trashing your work, and that affected a little bit, you know, my self-confidence and my self-esteem. At that time, also, I was newly married. I was having children. I had moved countries, moved cities. I changed my social circle. I had a lot of teaching load in a new language. So for me, the most challenging was at first I had to, unlearn what I learned, because writing in French and thinking in French would lead to these weird long sentences that nobody would understand. So I had to unlearn, and hopefully I started being interested by women's careers and the challenges that they face, because I was facing them myself. And this is where I, met my colleague. I say hello to, if she's listening, Charlotte Karam. Together, we mentored each other, we supported each other, we figured it out together. And at UB, there's a promotion clock. You need to publish so many articles in a little time. And my clock was ticking. I was at many times about to quit because I couldn't handle the pressure. And there was no guarantee that I was going to make it despite all the effort that I was putting in. Multiple times I was about to quit, but then I didn't. And I really made it at the last minute because I had all my papers accepted towards the last few months. And I made promotion. So I guess the lessons that I want to share from my story is don't be discouraged by obstacles. You always find a way to get back on track to what you really like. When it gets too hard, don't give up and seek support from your peers, from your friends, from your family. It's important. My third, takeaway is you need to unlearn what you know sometimes to be able to learn new skills. Unlearn, reskill yourself, upskill yourself. This is important. And then you need to do something that you're passionate about, because only that will give you the resilience and the determination to succeed. And finally, don't choose the easy path.
Beautiful story, Dr. Fida. Thank you. It's a very personal yeah. I mean, even like from the region as well, I would just emphasize that failure is regarded as something, bad. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want parents to talk about it, but it's okay to fail, and we can only learn when we fail. So let's move to Dr. Haifa.
Thank you, Wissam. My story is slightly different, although it is very much at the heart of my education. As I said at the outset, I'm a development economist. And my work on women's issues stems from my education as a development economist, because I truly believe firmly in my heart that no country can develop economically, socially, or politically without empowering that important 50% capital, women. So I always say I'm not a feminist, I'm an economist. When I talk about women's issues, I address them as a development economist. In the 1990s, while I was living in London, I was invited to represent the associations of Arab women's organizations in London on the board of the International Federation for Women. It was a great honor, and I was delighted to join the board. Then I became a vice president, later a president. And it's a very big organization. At the time, it was 33,000 members from 190 countries in the world, all based in London. And when I was addressing our conferences, often I will be asked, are you an Arab? Really, you're an Arab? And I realized at that time, it was a pivotal time in my life, I realized that there is so much misconception about Arab women, even in a place like London, which was very surprising. And so when I stepped down from the board of the International Federation, with a group of other women leaders, we decided to set up as a nonprofit, independent, non-governmental organization, the Arab International Women's Forum. Really, it was that challenge that I faced when I was the president of FIWAL that made the Arab International Women's Forum happen. We set it up in 2001, and it was mainly to link women in the Arab region. Of course, together, we are 22 countries and we are diverse, but importantly, to bring women together in the Arab region with their counterparts in the international community, to break stereotypes, because through knowledge grows understanding, and often prejudice comes out of ignorance. And I'm very proud to share with you, Wasim, that in January, next month, we will be celebrating 20 years, commemorating 20 years of the Arab International Women's Forum, driving an agenda for women's empowerment in the region. adopting a transformative agenda also for young Arab women leaders, where we took a special initiative to support the 25 to 40 years of age of our young women leaders across the region. Women in STEM, women as engines of economic growth. We're very proud of what we have done. The journey continues, but it was a pivotal time in the 90s that made me really, as a development economist, create this organization, and I'm very proud of it.
Amazing story, Dr. Haifa, and congratulations on the anniversary. And we would definitely like to team up with you during Expo, like live on site, right? And to address, we want to really inspire young women on STEM education and STEM careers. Thank you so much. So let's move to Dr. Katarina.
Okay, so first of all, congratulations, Dr. Haifa, for this great achievement. And it kind of goes into my direction of a personal story, because I would like to talk about the importance of network. Because when I was a student, I was always told how important network is, and I will do that in a few minutes as well. And I have to be honest that as a student, I did not see the value for me in trying to build a network. I was busy enough with my studies and, be honest, partying. And although I was in a mentoring program of a large company in Siemens, that was nice to participate because they organized great events for us. I wasn't really able to use that as a starting point to build a network, because in my opinion, I had no reason to build these long-term relationships with these persons. And I even have to say this kind of attitude stayed a long time, even during my PhD when I worked at a university, and I participated in many conferences, made many connections. But it changed completely when I entered my first job outside of a university. I have to say, really completely. My first job as an assistant for the executive board member of the German Aerospace Center showed me that network is key. It's key for your daily work, and even more important, it's key for strategic long-term initiatives that you want to drive in your job, right? And that it takes a while to build it, as well as some efforts to maintain. But, there were so many initiatives during my job at the German Aerospace Center, and most of them were only possible with the right partners, be it with partners from other research organizations, be it governmental partners or industry partners. And I have to tell you, it's the same even within an organization. At SAP, and everybody at SAP would echo that, it is so crucial to have an internal network that helps you to drive and scale your initiatives and direct you to the right content and expert. So what I want to tell you is that there will be the time where you will find value in having a network. And when that time comes, make the effort to go and, if we are after the pandemic, personal connect with the right people to build a personal network, and you can maintain it even digitally, because it takes some time, but if it's really worth, and it will save you time later. And I will promise you, it will also give you so much joy. And and also these kind of women network are so important. So really, thanks, Dr. Haifa, to having set that up, to be in that, to be at the front stage even 20 years ago, to set that up. And congratulations to the 20th birthday.
Thank you, Dr. Katarina. So speaking about networking, what a better place to network than Expo 2020, right? So again, another invitation for youth to go to Expo and meet as many people as you can. So Kailash, please, what's your story?
Oh, you're absolutely right, in Wissam, in terms of coming to Expo and kind of meeting experts and people from all walks of the world. And I always say to students whenever I get an opportunity to meet with them, that coming to Expo is going to the best business event that you would ever go to, or going to the best festival that you might have ever gone to, going to the best music event that you ever been to. Because as you turn around the corner in Expo, you might experience something completely unexpected. You might run into one of the best business minds of all time to the best artist of all time playing on a small stage. So it's going to be full of surprises, and I really look forward to wandering around Expo. I hope my job allows me to kind of wander around by that time. Coming back to the story, I got two kind of inspiring statement that completely changed my life for better, hopefully. When as you can imagine, I graduated in computer science. I'm an Indian. That was the most common profession and in fashion, and so I was pretty much a conformist, and I came out of the university graduating out of the technology as most of the Indians at that time were doing. But there's something in technology, not that I was not good at it, but there was something that kind of was not right, and I could never figure out what within the technology is something that is not appealing to me. And I came across a commencement speech from Steve Jobs at that time, and he said one statement. He had a very long and very informative speech, but he said one thing. He said, "Stay hungry, stay foolish. Don't settle for anything that your heart doesn't settle on. And in matters of love, you will find something that you know when you find something that you love." And I kind of never really understood what that meant. All I understood is I need to keep moving, and I left my engineering job to go and do my MBA, and kind of left the conformist world where a lot of us were getting good jobs, great jobs at that time in engineering, and went on to do something completely different. And that has been one of the best decisions. And what I realized was what I was missing in technology was a business focus. I love applying technology to a business problem, not applying technology for the sake of technology. And that's where my strength lies. And that's what I learned from the experience. And I completely changed the second transformation experience and the
You have
statement.
to be quick, Kailash.
Very quick, 30 seconds. The next inspirational statement came from an unknown source, actually. And basically, it says that you always feel disappointed or over estimate what you can achieve in short term, and you will always underestimate what you can achieve in longer run. So think about your career as a marathon, not a sprint that you're running, although treat it as a sprint in certain phases, but you're running a marathon and you need to have the energy to go right through the marathon. So there would be ups and downs in your career. Don't worry about it, because if you keep aiming in the right direction and follow your heart, you will get to the right place. So those are my two inspirational statements for the evening.
Thank you, Kailash. Fatima, have you got a story for us?
To be honest with you, after all these personal stories, I don't know where do I stand. Having said that, you and I have a story with Sam when we would like to bring to the light the best example ever of engaging a young or youth idea from Expo inclusion program by a person of determinations, who his graduation project was all about deploying technology to make sure that make Expo 2020 very accessible. And from an idea on a paper, SAP really adopted it and developed it to the extent of creating this podium app that will be announced and used during our expo, which is dedicated to create all these platforms that will enable people with different accessibility needs to enjoy the expo, which happened to win a 1 Billion Lives Initiatives Award in 2019 as SAP. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to share this personal story, which I think Expo 2020, Dubai and SAP have collaboratively proved how important it is to work with ideas, innovation, to make sure that it's adapted to become to a real life example to be used for a real world expo.
Absolutely. So it's a Q&A time, right? So let's see the questions here. So we've got a question to Wadia. We rely too much on new technology and internet. How about a cyber pandemic happening, as World Economic Forum, Dr. Shahab mentioned in his book? Is this the new normal, the only option?
I mean, is it the only option? No, but is it the new normal that we need to prepare ourselves for? Yes, the next wars will be cyber. We are relying more and more on technology. It's affecting, as I said, the way we live, we work, on even how we interact and behave. And of course, there are bad people that will try to use that. The good story or the good opportunity is like we still have time, and we need to come together as multi-stakeholder to agree on a governance. Because when you think about different technologies that are being put out there, Sometimes someone will have an idea, will just put it out there. Even the governments will not have the time to put a law. I mean, think of technologies that are out there today, like autopilot cars. We know they exist. Tell me one country that has its driving law that accepts that. None. When we think of autopilot cars, who is coding those cars? Engineers. But what if that car has a decision mechanism that is automatic, and it knows that it will have an accident 100%, killing 2 homeless or 1 big CEO? Which one shall it kill? And knowing that it's killed. All those are ethics, are governance issues that are still not resolved. And I think having a governance is important to go from those small anecdotal cases to the cyber war, and hopefully that will not happen if we have the right governance. And here at the forum, we are working on that. We have established a cybersecurity center with the stakeholders that are in charge of our securities around the world, with the government sector, with the private sector, so that we can hopefully not fall into that trap that we know will come if we don't do anything. So opportunities for jobs and skills.
Thank you, Wadia.
Thank you. We have Kailash and I spoke a lot about our education, Expo education programs. And I think there are a lot of questions from the youth and the audience about ways on to how to join these programs. So would you be able, Kailash, to give us or shed more lights on that?
Thank you, Fatima. I think I'll talk about the student visitation program, which is very close to my heart, because it also has a mass appeal, and it can appeal to an international university student as well as to a UAE university student. We have 7 journeys that we have devised during Expo, and the 7 journeys have been designed in a way to appeal to every single career that or a major that you might be studying at a university. So get in touch with your universities, or get in touch with us, and we'll get in touch with your university. And what we are encouraging university is to sign up to the student visitation program. And what that allows you to do is to come to Expo on a 3-day guided tour, with the tour content very much aligned to the major that you're studying in. So earlier I gave example of a logistics student going into the busiest highway corridor in the world during Expo. Imagine you're a communication student and you look at media. Coming to Expo, we have a media center that is 5-story, that would have broadcast and print and social media from all around the world into a single place. That has never happened in this part of the world, with so many journalists and so many broadcasters at one single place. So if you're a media student, come to us. We'll take you to that center where you can look at firsthand how broadcast media works, how social media is disrupting some of those media, and at the first hand ask them the question saying, hey, why do you think the industry of media would change? And they would give you the first hand experience of doing that. If you are an event student, come and we'll show you Al Wasl Plaza, which has got the most fantastic immersive technology that has ever been built just for the purpose of this event. And we want to take you to the boiler room of Al Wasl Plaza. You can experience the fantastic show later, but I want you to come to the boiler room of Al Wasl Plaza, where you can see how this technology works. With our friends SAP, with our friends Siemens and other people, we want to show you how technology is really transforming the heart of Expo and what Expo would be in the legacy at District 2020. So there are a lot of fun things to do at Expo, and the student visitation program is a fantastic way to learn from it. So I would really hope, get in touch with your university and force them to contact us, or contact us and we will get in touch with your university to do that.
Thank you, Kailash. So this question is to Dr. Fida, and I really find it interesting. Should we skill for a future that belongs to big corporates or small businesses like SMEs? And what are the key differences in skill sets requirements between the two, if there's any?
Thank you. If we look about the statistics that we see that 80% of jobs would require digital competencies. We're looking towards automation, etc. So I think, what we should be thinking about is what are the skills that you can acquire that cannot be automated? This is something that's very, very important. And then you need to constantly be adapting. So you need to think of the power skills, such as critical thinking, problem solving, learning, agility, adaptability. These are skills that would apply, across all industries, whether big companies or small NGOs. You need to consider technical skills, such as digital literacy, data science, data analytics, to be able to understand and manipulate the computer, and then the soft skills that the computers don't have. And you need to really, think about learning agility and adaptability. What is very important is showing that your skills are transferable. For example, if you're very good in, programming, you can apply this across different industries. So try to really harness the skills that are transferable across industries, that cannot be automated, and that you excel at doing. And this will help you in securing a job in the future, in any industry, in any country, in any area.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fida. Allow me to conclude, and unfortunately we have reached probably the end of the webinar, but we have one last set of questions to ask our panelists. And we wanted you to sum all your intake into 3 most important skills students need to acquire for the 21st century to the workplace. Why and how, please? So to begin with, could we really start with Ms. Haifa?
Thank you, Fatima. The 3 skills, quickly, definitely digital skills, first and foremost. Secondly, amongst the soft skills, I will highlight critical thinking, problem solving, and empathy. Empathy is important as a fundamental human value. And financial skills, because that will help with financial inclusion, especially for women. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you very much. How about you, Wadia? What do you think? What are the top 3 skills we would like to leave youth with?
Thank you. I think the skills that are linked to the VUCA world, how to be comfortable with taking a decision with ambiguous data. Before we could allow ourselves to have 80% of the data to take a decision. Today, you can only allow yourself at least maximum 20% of the data. Before, the big fish will eat the small fish. Today, the fastest fish will eat the slow fish. And here I'm going to share the slide for like 2 seconds, where you can see what the World Economic Forum is thinking of the top 10 skills for 2025. And you can see that are between problem solving, self-management, working with people, technology use and development, and those are a must for everyone.
Thank you very much. How about you, Dr. Katrina?
So, most of them is already said, and I would say it's like digital skills and the motivation for lifelong learning, networking, which I already talked about a lot. And then I think, which is also crucial, and it made me realize it during the pandemic right now, because this virtual work environment became real so much faster than we thought. And I think it's crucial that we learn to show our personality in this virtual environment. Because at the end, we are human beings, and you will find a new job, for example, and a human being will hire you. So be aware that you have another aura in this virtual environment than you have if you meet a real person and you don't have a coffee with someone or don't have a lunch. So really practice how you show it to the others via this virtual environment. And just to tell one short story, I took over during the pandemic a team, and I was heavily pregnant, and nobody noticed, because you always see until here, So it doesn't matter what kind of shoes you're wearing. If you have an interview, it's up to here, and then kind of the speech. So I think this is also a digital, very important skill for the future.
Thank you, Dr. Katarina. I would like to ask Kailash this time.
So it's always good to go at the end, right? Because most of the skills have been taken. So I'm like, what skills am I going to kind of talk about?
I'm
But
not sure you're at the end yet, Kailash, so it's okay.
so what I
Have the-
would suggest. That's true. My apologies. The way students should think about, and frankly, every one of us should think about is think about skills in kind of the onion rings, right? Your core skills that used to be your STEM, your communication skills, and stuff. They all hold true. But one very important skill, which is the use of technology and digital literacy, has been added to that. And I don't think so. It's a skill. It's basically a core life uh, thing that you need to have as good as speaking. And I kind of see our students are already fantastic at technology, so that's a very important core skill. As you go to slightly outer one of it, I would say proactiveness and initiative. And a lot of us have kind of spoken about developing personality, and Dr. Katrina spoke a lot about networking. It all comes down to how proactive you are in thinking about your career and thinking about developing yourselves. The more you proactive you are, you will always come out to times, because people would love to see what have you done in your spare time. And that's what is quite critical. And then the final one is being added in my repository over the past few months that I've been continuously thinking about is resilience. And I think before COVID and kind of the social seclusion, resilience was not that important. But now when you think about it, it's your mental well-being, it's your social well-being, it's your financial well-being, it's your educational well-being. So you need to be developing resilience in all aspects of your life, and that's the third most important skills according to me.
Absolutely, Kailash. I think you had contributed with many where you were hesitated at the beginning. Dr. Fida, could you furnish us with 3 top skills that you think youth should be engaged with for future?
Yes, I'm going to share, my experience as a chair of a department. I have 25 faculty members that, work there. And I observed the reaction, in Lebanon, in addition to the pandemic, we had the revolution and the blast and etc. And I was, seeing people's reaction. Some were totally in a very bad mental health. And I spotted very few faculty members that weren't perhaps the best performer previously, but that were doing an outstanding job, keeping it together, supporting the students, taking the lead. If the coordinator cannot do what is required for the course, they're taking the leads, taking initiatives. So thinking about what these people had that made them really stand out in times of difficulties, I would say they had emotional intelligence. Because they were able to understand and other people's emotions as well as their own and manage that. They were able to unlearn quickly and to learn new things very quickly, because some were stuck on the old way of education. They wouldn't want to change the way they were doing it, and these were not doing great. And I would say ethics and compassion, especially when we come to all this technology, predictive analytics, and the AI making decisions. I think compassion and ethics is what keeps us and makes us human at the core. And we should not lose that from sight while we focus on the digital world.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fida. And Wissam, put me on the spot when he asked me to share my personal story. I would like you now to give us out of your head 3 most important skills for future, please.
I think I'm just going to give one skill that you're not going to see it listed by the World Economic Forum or by university, and it's humor, right? Because we've got a lot on our minds. And as Dr. Katrina just mentioned, that we don't see each other now, it's all online. So if you have sense of humor, you're going to connect easily with people. So smile and use your humor to your advantage.
With that, we concluded our webinar for today. I hope you guys have really enjoyed it. And we would like to poll one last engaging poll. Wissam.
Fatima, sorry, I couldn't. Yeah, perfect. So what is your outlook for 2021?
I'm very excited to see how the result of this question would look like from our youth, young people, academia.
Likewise, especially after our conversation, right?
Yes.
All right, so let's see the result.
Hit with it, Wissam.
Wow, 78% are positive and only 4% are negative. Amazing, amazing.
Wow.
So keep smiling, and there's a lot of opportunities there. Network, and see you at Expo.
Thank you very much. And we hope with this, first webinar that we hosted under Expo Education programs that we have addressed many of young people and academic people out there questions about the outlook, and maybe towards finding solutions beside inviting them to visit our first and maybe only accessible World Expo ever. As you can see, we are determined to put youth at the heart of the Expo again, and looking forward to meet you again in our next education program. And Wissam, I can't wait till I see you in person, and maybe the mask will have begun.
I might not recognize you without a mask.
I agree with you. I think most of us, we learn how to identify each other by the eye now. But the vaccines are on the way, and I hope 2021 is going to be more optimistic and it's going to carry a better future for all. And as we say here in the Expo 2020 Dubai, we think that there is no better way of a World Expo after the pandemic that can bring all people together at the end. So we look forward to seeing you all and probably putting our hands together to create better future for youth and probably for all of us. Thank you very much.
And a big thanks to our panelists. Thank you so much for your time and for your takeaways. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
I would like to thank also the team that have worked on putting this webinar together. Ghalia and Alia, my colleagues, they're sitting behind the الكواليس على ما يقولون, behind the scenes, but they are the orchestrator of everything has been delivered today. So thank you very much. I'm clapping for them.
Thank you.
Until we see you next, please stay tuned with the Expo education program.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.